The Bitcoin and Nasdaq emergency. If you watch this video, I will give you a complete guide to understanding what's wrong with stonks and why this could be good for Bitcoin. And I will discuss altcoins. Some will do well, some maybe not. That's a huge bummer, but I will help you sort it out. We're going to do a monologue that helps you with the news, the theory behind all this, because there's a little legacy action going on. So if you're confused, you're in the right place. I'm going to get you all sorted out before your day starts, and I'm going to give you the TA you need to survive. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know about the morning and the evening show. And of course, I'm trying to get to 200 likes on one show, so feel free to hit the like button early and often. Okay, what is going on? Let's start with a funny thing. Let's start with Japan. Okay, so in Japan, they have a major debt problem. They also have an inflation problem. That's a bad combo. Then there's the triple threat that they can't raise interest rates to stop the inflation, because if they did, they would wreck the U.S. stock market. To keep it very simple, U.S. and international speculators use the Japanese financial system as a way to get really cheap money so they can go speculate. And if that money isn't cheap anymore, ruh-roh. That's problem number one. Problem number two, everybody in legacy is bullish. Everyone in the stock market is bullish. No one was bullish, literally, no one was bullish at the bottom of the market in April. Now, everything is great. AI is great. Data centers are great. The market has melted up. Literally, you won't believe the chart. It looks like an altcoin. It's just straight up, which of course makes everyone bullish. Everyone jumps in the pool, and then the hairdryer or the toaster or the electrical thing is inbound. Uh-oh, everyone's long. So follow me here. If everyone's long and everyone's bullish and it's a bubble by any metric you use in stocks, when everybody goes to sell, who exactly is the buyer? Like when big trend following hedge funds go to sell, who's there to take it from them? Retail? Are they going to buy the dip? Maybe. I think they bought the dip yesterday. That's not working out too good. Like if they buy the dip and it keeps dipping, it could turn into a 10% correction just like that. Just like that. I mean, they did 20% on this tariff nonsense. Now there's more tariff nonsense. Fine, right? What tariffs we put on Canada is not going to affect Nasdaq. What affects Nasdaq is pure, raw speculation and, frankly, hubris. Microsoft and NVIDIA have questionable accounting. They have questionable forecasts for demand. And by the way, nothing in AI is profitable right now. Nothing. OpenAI needs to raise billions. Everybody needs to raise billions so they can spend billions to build the giant supercomputer that's definitely not here today. So the supercomputer is priced in with the supercomputer very far away. And it reminds me of Bitcoin and blockchain back in 2017. Back in 2017, it was funny. The saying was blockchain, not Bitcoin, because of the volatility. How wrong they were. But to be fair, Bitcoin ramped up massively. There was huge promise for Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain. And then, of course, Bitcoin went from 20K to 3K to a winter. Okay. Now, what happens if something similar happens in stocks? Now, you're like, gee, Bill, that can't happen. Everyone's cried wolf in stocks. All right, consider this. Consider a big hedge fund manager, Ray Dalio, came out and was like, you know what? I want to be 15% long in gold and Bitcoin. And he's been selling the end of the world, the debt crisis, the fall of the Roman Empire. He has been selling that. He was selling that on national television in April. Now he's like, you know what? I'm going to go to gold and Bitcoin. And you know what? To me, even though I give Ray a hard time, because I keep saying, Ray, the way to play the trade is not to get short the legacy stuff, but it's to get long Bitcoin and gold. Now, if I know Ray, and I do know Ray, not personally, but every time Ray comes out on the tape and says something, like 3 days later, from a market perspective, it happens. And I've been sitting here waiting for it. And it scared the heck out of me because of, I was thinking that this was going to be a very positive environment for altcoins, that if Nasdaq just kind of sat around, it was like, no one was going to want that. Who wants that? Okay, well, guess what? Nasdaq could fall apart, like seriously, because if you got some tariff noise, Powell's not cutting rates this year. He didn't cut rates in April when it was down 20%. So it's got to go down 40% to get him to think about it. Really? That would bust inflation, by the way. That Powell actually might want that. And you have valuations in Nasdaq that are just flat out crazy. It looks exactly like it was in 2000. I was there for 2000. And when that thing broke down, oh my God. I mean, at the high, it was so euphoric. Guys who were bearish got fired, literally. My father worked at a brokerage house, Merrill Lynch. The chief strategist was like, Nasdaq, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. The brokers were furious because they couldn't sell anybody. It made it harder to sell people stocks so they could make commission. That's how it worked back in the day. But guess what? As soon as he got fired, the market just fell out of bed. And all of this stuff got unwound. At least the tech stocks did. Now, here's a lesson about 2000. When Nasdaq topped, the industrial stocks, the Dow Jones industrial stocks, your great grandpa's stocks, they actually went up. They went up for like 3 months as Nasdaq was kind of vertical to the downside because money just kind of rotated. Now, if Nasdaq completely falls out of bed, where's that money going to go? Well, here's an interesting factoid. No one is interested in Bitcoin. No one. Searches for Bitcoin, Bitcoin ETF, no one interested. Now, there was a lot of interest in ETH, and there was all this talk about 10K ETH. That was a little bit excessive, but they could find their way to Bitcoin and ETH faster than you think. Now, you could also have just a general debacle in risk assets because remember, you don't know what kind of role the Japanese thing is going to have. Maybe it's a nothing burger. Maybe it isn't. Maybe Ray Dalio saw something. Maybe Ray Dalio's giant hedge fund is going to short NASDAQ until it stops going down. I don't know. But Bitcoin and Ethereum are awesome candidates to actually eventually go up as NASDAQ more than likely cascades lower. Now, just in case you think I'm kidding about NASDAQ, right? This is pretty silly what they got going on here in NASDAQ. This is straight up. It's a complete melt up. Like shorts, they got destroyed. Every day there was an article of guys who were short and bearish going, I can't take it anymore. Literally. They're like, I can't, I'm having a mental breakdown. I just have to buy. If this starts going down, if NASDAQ starts going down, it could retrace all of this rally. I mean, high school physics, right? Speed, magnitude, and direction. What goes up a certain way can go back down the same way. Stairs up, elevator down, right? I mean, if retail buys the dip and it works, great. Crypto's going to do good. All the altcoins are going to come back, and I and you will be absolutely happy, right? If retail buys the dip and it works, great. The Fed comes in and saves the stock market, great. Now, why the stream at 8 o'clock in the morning? Well, got a lot of new friends, want to give them a morning show, want to welcome everybody who likes morning shows. Welcome. What happens if Nasdaq does not stop going down? Like, we could pull up the Microsoft chart, we could pull up the Nvidia chart, but I ask you this, do we have to? Do we have to? Do I have to talk to you about valuations? Do I have to talk to you about why Warren Buffett relentlessly sold Apple after loving it for years? Relentlessly sold it. Relentlessly. You're about to find out, right? This is FAFO, right? Get arrogant, get ridiculously bullish, get smoked. Okay. Now we have to talk about what you're here to hear about, which is altcoins. So we know Bitcoin's going to have a bid. We know Bitcoin actually might go up, but what is going to happen to altcoins? So here's two theories. One theory is that ETH sucks all the money out of the crypto market. Like, it's not just Bitcoin dominance, but it becomes Ethereum dominance. Because I just can't believe Solana is at 170. It's almost like I'm drooling over these prices. Like, SUi is below 4. I'm like, oh my God, right? It's unbelievable where some of this stuff is trading already. And you know what? Again, we could go over all the charts, and eventually crypto will stop going down way before Nasdaq. But we're going to have to talk about something in legacy that is very important so that you understand, in the event that they go down together, what's actually happening. In other words, everybody's going to look at this and go, there's something wrong with crypto if crypto goes down. Now, if it all goes down together, right? This is scenario analysis. It's called a VAR shock, VAR, value at risk. So what happens if something happens in Japan, that triggers something in stocks, stocks start to get volatile? What will happen is that these models that track value at risk will just start to go beep, sell. That's it. Like, when the market's just going up and up and up, oh my, they love it. That's the dream for a computer model. But as soon as it starts to get volatile, like Nasdaq kind of is right now, VAR models hate that. And even if it's a human trading, the VAR model just goes, that hedge funds just goes, sell everything. Sell bonds, sell stocks, sell everything. Oh yeah, by the way, and cover the short in the US dollar, which would just, I don't know, that would just wreck everybody. So if they go down together, it's not that there's something wrong with crypto. That there's something wrong with altcoins. It's just that hedge funds, it's beeped and they all must sell. Now, again, we're all cheering that it isn't a Nasdaq or S&P emergency. We're hoping that the orange man does something like push the tariff narrative. Nasdaq wicks down, takes altcoins with it, and then comes back and finds a range, right? In other words, what do you usually get after a big trend? A range. Now, how big's a range going to be? I don't know. But stonks should fall into a range. Now, if that happens, That is Ray Dalio's theory. That is glory for Bitcoin, glory for gold, glory for silver, right? It's the perfect environment, right? It's a shock in equities that gets everybody going, I think we're invested in the wrong stuff. I think, wait a minute, we're all invested in the wrong stuff, right? You walk into the diner and you go, hey, I'm long stocks. And the guy next to you goes, yeah, so am I. The other guy goes, yeah, so am I. So if all three guys have to sell, who are they selling to? The waitress and the cooks are long too. Who are they selling to? They got to go running out to the bus stop to find somebody? There's no one to sell it to. No one. Which is why Michael Saylor is on the tape going, yeah, I might buy 1.5 million Bitcoin. Because trust me, folks, he can see this Nasdaq chart too. He can see this complete ninny fest over there. And if there's something wrong with crypto, that's what's wrong with crypto. And ironically, for some hope, crypto equities were up yesterday with that massive reversal, which is also a good time to talk about a technical analysis lesson and what actually constitutes an emergency. So yesterday, Microsoft's earnings came out. Now, there's a couple guys I follow that highlight that some of that is baloney on the accounting front. But of course, the algos saw this huge earnings number. They gapped the stock up. Nasdaq, which of course is, going to follow Microsoft because Microsoft is in the Magnificent Seven. So Nasdaq gaps up, goes up, and then gets smacked to close down below the previous day's low. Now, we can show the chart, whatever. The key is when you get these reversals, sometimes they just normal corrections. They just happen in one day and it's ugly. And if people come in and buy the dip the next day, it's a nothing burger. It's happened a couple times in Nasdaq, right? And it's happened a couple times in crypto too. Crypto goes way up and then retraces on the same day. And if it holds, it's fine. But the key to a real reversal and a real top, and I was taught this. Well, let me say it first. The key to a real reversal and a real top is that you get follow through on the downside after the reversal. Which right now, looking at just where Nasdaq and S&P are right now, right? Nasdaq is down 1% overnight. That's a big move for them. That's a big move. So they're getting follow through overnight as everybody in equities comes in and goes, ruh-roh. So if you see Nasdaq down 2 or 3 days in a row, it's going to go down 10 days in a row. I learned that little trick about follow through and reversals after ugly candlesticks from a guy named Steve Nissen, who used his own money to have Japanese transcripts about candlesticks, have it translated into English, and wrote a couple books about it. And I took a class with him at the New York Institute of Finance with 3 other people because these things were a joke. Nobody knew what they were. No one understood it. Meanwhile, the Japanese have been using these things since 1766, as I remember, to trade their rice market. Now, good luck finding anything on TradingView that doesn't have candlesticks. But this whole idea of a reversal or not a reversal is a big deal. I mean, if I was the Fed, I wouldn't let this happen. I wouldn't care if they liked the orange man or didn't like the orange man. If Nasdaq, you want to hear some hopium, if Nasdaq fell apart after he didn't lower rates, oh my God, the orange man's going to lose his mind. He's going to go from being orange to red-faced. He's going to go crazy. So it's not in the Fed's interest to have this happen. It isn't, which is why I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be just fine. And this could be a shopping day in alts because, again, the decentralized universe versus what's going on in the centralized universe is crazy. Now, that said, you do have to take this seriously. I don't want to be bearish altcoins. The people who follow me, I put the chopper in the thumbnail. I don't want to say get to the chopper in crypto. I think you definitely have to get to the chopper in equities. Glassnode is trying to tell you that people have all this unrealized profit in Bitcoin. You know, like Bitcoin is Bitcoin from 5 or 10 years ago. It's not. Could Nasdaq scare everybody into selling Bitcoin? I don't know. Down to 107? Yeah, maybe, if that's what hedge funds do. That's why I went back to the Varshock thing, right? Like who would sell Bitcoin in this environment? I'm not. You're not. Well, some computer might go, oh God, I'm scared. Everybody sell. Not to mention retail, even though they should be rotating into the Bitcoin ETF. If retail just starts panic selling everything, that can create an impact. But to tell me that people have profits locked in Bitcoin and they're going to sell and take profits, I mean, you'd have to have a cataclysm. You'd have to have a financial institution in Japan fail in order to have something like that happen. And again, I think that's super bullish for Bitcoin anyway, honestly. But, you know, this thing in Japan, you kind of have to take it seriously because Nasdaq is so absurdly overextended. Now, that said, okay, in Bitcoin, like let's say, I don't know, like it might go down, it might not. It sort of feels like to me that like 114 was the old 90 and 107 is the new 77. But I can't come up, like Dalio told you, there's no case for Bitcoin to go lower. There's no case for gold to go lower. I don't think there's a case for ETH to go lower at all. And I don't understand how Solana and XRP can actually like not be attached to Bitcoin. Like XRP was at like $2.85 overnight. Like, is my computer broken? What were they doing? It's crazy. But well, actually, I know what they were doing. They were liquidating everybody. Okay. So, oh, wait, we have more stuff here. So the U.S. economy just added 73,000 jobs. That seems to be like half of what it normally is. Looks like they're actually calculating the statistics correctly. So that might mean they're expecting rate cuts, which could hold Bitcoin up for sure. So now we know Bitcoin's good, right? Economy falling out of bed, stock market overvalued, Fed stubborn. It's like we're living in Jackassville. Perfect for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Perfect. Now, again, what happens to altcoins? All right. I think we have to break altcoins down into sectors. We do this in the YouTube member area where ace analyst Tobie Ward drops the knowledge every week, twice a week, with me as kind of the co-host, translating the knowledge. Okay, we got the QR code here. We got the links down below. You know, I said to her yesterday, I'm like, yo, this is not looking good. She's like, well, maybe we'll take a look at the stock charts. But, you know, when it goes down like this, I want to shop. I want to grab this stuff. Now, here's a different perspective in altcoins. So altcoins have been going down for 4 days for no reason, right? It just looked like alt season 3 days ago. And the reason altcoins are going down is because they knew about this. The crypto market knew about Nasdaq, right? And this has happened before, and they unloaded. Now, thinking about altcoins as all altcoins, every time I say that, Tobie takes off the goddess sandal and just whacks me with that hard leather bottom. Just, you know, she doesn't care if the diamond baubles fall off of it. She's just like, shut up. It's DeFi first. It's not a secret. I mean, we've been telling people this. She's been telling people this for a year on paid shows, free shows. Look, why does, and we said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again. Why does Jamie Dimon want people to have a fast rail from a Chase account over to Coinbase? Like, what financial institution might fail? So let's talk about what happens if, say, a Japanese institution failed. Well, you might say, well, it's just one company. No, because that one company may have derivatives trades or loans to every other bank, every other thing in the system. So Ray Dalio's dream wasn't to say, well, everything's going to fall apart. His thing was he switched tactics and said, let's buy gold and Bitcoin. Let's buy gold and Bitcoin and DeFi and, decentralized exchanges and real world asset plays, because the stock market just got a rude awakening that the Fed didn't cut rates and the economy's horrible and the orange man's going to put tariffs. Woo! Nasty. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're waking up. They thought everything was fine and now it's not. That's a stock market saying it's fine until it isn't. It doesn't matter until it does. That seriously. Like, the equity market is famous for ignoring things. Like, yeah, we don't like that. We just buy. Seriously, everything in equities is bullish. Yeah, not today, homie. Not today. Okay. So let's try to wrap it up, or wrap it together, not wrap it up. You have to understand that if stocks fall apart, altcoins can't survive that kind of debacle. So you have to make sure that your position can handle a problem, or your brain can handle a problem, right? And you don't wind up panicking like what happened in April. Because remember, at the bottom in April, Bitcoin and all of crypto started going up while they were, in colossal fear mode. Now, the good news this morning is that the dollar is lower. That's good, because that means they think, the market, the Fed might cut rates. Interestingly, Wall Street was short the dollar. The dollar went up. They all got squeezed out, just like they all got squeezed out in Nasdaq. And what happens, everybody, when the shorts all get squeezed out, right? Shorts are a natural buyer to cover. Well, what happens when everyone is long and no one is short? When the shorts come in to sell, who are they going to sell to? When the longs go to sell, who's there? Nobody. Army Piper joined in the stream this morning. The revision from 147K to 14K, right? There's no job growth in the United States. Now, here's another funny thing about the payroll number, which, I'm sure you're going to hear all about. The orange man wants rates down desperately, as you've heard. So you know what they did? They called up the Bureau of Labor Statistics that I think is giving, they give information to Wall Street before the numbers come out. They've been caught doing everything shady, including giving Brandon every single month a payroll number that was better than what was expected. It was like 18 months in a row under Brandon. And it was all government employment. There was never any growth in real employment. Never. All the jobs went to people from overseas, and everybody got hired by the government. The only growth was in taking care of old people, which was healthcare and hospitality. Everything else for years has been just complete zero job growth. There's been zero job growth in this country since 2022, since they started hiking rates. And I would argue it was that way. Maybe the job market was a little hot after COVID because they wanted everybody to stay home. But I mean, once the inflation accelerated and everybody had to go to 2 jobs, there was no job growth. Everybody had to get 2 part-time jobs. So the reason I told you that story is because the orange man walked over to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and said, you know what? if Powell thinks this whole thing is data driven, because that's what they say, right? Well, the inflation number and the payroll number is really not that bad. So I don't. Darnsman probably, or Besant probably goes over to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and goes, hey guys, how about we tell the truth? How about we tell everybody what it really is? So they can turn around and blame Powell. A truly brilliant strategy, because it's the truth, right? Like the labor market kind of is a mini disaster, right? It's a mini disaster. There is no job growth. And everybody, including Powell, is worried about inflation. You know, the economy is going to be hot with manufacturing and data centers. So, you know, if rates are at 3%, they could probably, if rates are at, if the inflation rate allegedly is at 3%, keeping rates at 4%, it's not unreasonable. But if the labor market is kind of a debacle, you know, inflation at 3, rates at 3, that's not terrible. That's not terrible at all. Everyone's like, oh, we're worried about the tariffs. Yeah, like the tariffs are going to go through. Come on. No one believes that. No one believes that. It's like a hard negotiating tactic. There's like geopolitics involved and who's recognizing who. Oh my God, who cares? Not in crypto anyway. But the truth about the labor market helps crypto because it's, you know, it reinforces the legacy circus. It's the legacy circus. So if they're smacking altcoins, all right, I've always said this, stocks can go down, and when they go down, they will stay down. When stocks go down, crypto might go down, but crypto is going to come back with a vengeance, just like it did last time. So you have to be careful of all the hedge funds selling everything all at once. Now, the other argument for altcoins is that they've been suppressed. They've been depressed. You know, they've been destroyed for months. You know what I'm saying? Like you got these two spikes. You had a 2024 spike and you had a 2023 spike and you had a 2024 spike, and that's it. That's it. Well, if you want a cup of, this is ginger. If you want a cup of ginger Kool-Aid, what happens if they switch and actually a bid comes into altcoins led by Bitcoin, Ethereum ETFs, and Solana and XRP futures? Because that can happen, right? There are legacy instruments that these guys can pile into. So if you want a cup of Kool-Aid, you can open yourself up to the idea that Nasdaq falling out of bed, like once the actual falling out of bed part happens, which again is massive overvaluation, massive sentiment, idiotic craziness, tariff noise, and a horrendous economy with no growth, right? That's not a good scene for Nasdaq. It's a great scene for Bitcoin. Okay. Now, let's talk about, let's spike the Kool-Aid for a second. What happens if Nasdaq falls apart and not only altcoins they go down, but then they don't go down what you think they're going to go down? Like what happens if Nasdaq goes down 10%, but SUI, just as an example, only goes down 5%? Like what happens if crypto outperforms on the way down? Meaning stonks do terrible things, but crypto is okay. And what happens if that's on a sector basis? Like what happens if BlackRock, which has been eerily silent, what happens if somebody comes out with a real world asset play while this is happening? Because I will tell you this, there's no liquidity in legacy for anything. Japanese bonds, US bonds, good luck selling all this stock. Good luck. There's no liquidity anywhere, really. There isn't. So when they go to, if this thing really starts moving around, you're going to see somebody want to go to real world assets. You're going to see somebody dive headfirst into Aave or Uniswap or, Sky or, what used to be Maker. You're going to see people diving in, and you're going to see people going, you know what? This decentralized universe may have something. Because I'll tell you right now, right? Like I've heard guys go, you know what? The AI in crypto, no one actually has AI. It's just, an agent and vaporware. Okay. Maybe there's some of that. I mean, clearly Fartcoin is not AI, right? And maybe some of the actual agent coins don't have anything except cool websites. Okay. But what do they got over in legacy? Guys paying $100 million or $1 billion for people and data centers. That stuff's not profitable. The stuff in crypto, all right, could be real, could not be real, but DPIN is real. ZKAI is real. That was mooning, right? We had that in Patreon Premium, and I know a couple other guys that had it. So it's not all bad if it goes down. And I think the old Kramer saying, okay, there's always a bull market somewhere, and we will be finding that for our Patreon Platinum group. And you know what? The coins we like may not change that much. What might change is where you buy them. Like, what about, we just got done with a YouTube member podcast where, Tobie was on the thumbnail dressed as that guy who said, hey, stupid, buy altcoins. She didn't have the hoodie, and we, of course, did not refer to our customers as stupid, but it was like, hey, you. Because again, this very suppressed market, like it's funny. I'm looking at Degen going green as I'm talking. Like, how funny would it be if Nasdaq melted down and altcoins did okay? Now, let's talk about the when. You can expect crypto and stocks to trade terrible overnight, because that's when this whole Japan thing is going to start getting attention. So expect it to trade like garbage overnight. Now, when the US comes in, altcoins, ETH, they might do okay. And you know what? If they want to sell me Solana at 150, I'll take it from them. Seriously. Because, that whole thing being dead, that whole thing being the new ETH, yeah, that's bunk too. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the monthly breakout at 180. Well, guess what? I'll get another shot at it. And I think there's another thing that you need to look at while I'm just going full rant here. What about the other layer ones, the fast ones, the new ones, like Bera comes to mind, Injective? What kind of layer ones are machines going to want to trade on? Because machines are going to trade, like agents are going to trade, right? Where are they going to trade on? And of course, again, this whole sell everything mentality, which, could have a real cause to it, becomes opportunity, because not all coins are created equal. And some of these coins have such a value proposition, like DPIN, right? Like, I think it's called the ZBEC, has done nothing but go up. Nothing. ZBCN is up 5% today, right? They're after a couple other coins that we like. I can't believe they're not after Clearpool, but they are after a couple real world asset projects today. They're after it. So let's review like school. If hedge funds have to sell all at once and Nasdaq goes down 10%, you're going to have intense volatility in crypto. You got a full moon on the 9th, but I do think there are some forces that after this wretched volatility happens, all coins in crypto rise out of the ashes. There is a 2017 analogy. In August of 2017, Bitcoin went down 40%. You had a 40% blowout in Bitcoin on the way up in 2017, if I remember correctly. So if they want to wash you out, they will. But what you can't do is give up on this whole thing because it was suppressed. It looked like alt season. And now we're at the mercy of Stupidville over in stonks. You cannot let them push you out because, again, I'm like, Tobie thinks and operates at a much higher level than I do, right? Tobie is the Air Force or maybe even the Space Force. And, I'm like knee deep in mud as the ground pounder. And I was like, you got to take a look at this NASDAQ chart. She's like, yeah, I'll look at it, but not really. Right? Because she's been telling you to get out of stonks. She's been telling you that. I mean, not that you need to be told that as crypto people, but she's been telling you to get out of stonks all the way up. She thought it was stupid, like, I don't know, 6 months ago, before the tariff thing dumped the market. She doesn't even know what the silly parabolic move up. She's like, yeah, that's crazy. It is crazy. But you know what? I'm telling you this because yesterday it's like, yeah, I'll look at NASDAQ, but I would prefer to shop when the market is down. And that is exactly what you do, right? You eat the dip if you have the money. If you've done bad trades, get rid of them. So you have money to do some good trades. Because I'm telling you, this whole thing about nobody interested in Bitcoin, listen, if Bitcoin is supposed to go down with NASDAQ and it doesn't, what's it going to do, Ray Dalio? What's it going to do? Oh, it's going to go up. Oh, your giant hedge fund is going to buy Bitcoin and short NASDAQ? I would. That trade worked most of the year until the recent NASDAQ melt up, and it could work again. So Bitcoin could save altcoins. It could. Because, I mean, altcoins can go down if NASDAQ goes down, but if Bitcoin is green with NASDAQ falling apart, the rest of crypto will find its courage, right? It'll find its spicy ginger beverage and be like, hey, maybe there is something to this decentralized universe. And if you want your morning comedy, you want to spike your coffee up, the Tornado Cash trial is going to a jury. This guy from this privacy platform that was accused of enabling and going along with hackers, which is just ridiculous. I'm telling you right now, if that guy is not guilty, or he isn't guilty, in my opinion, but if the jury says he's not guilty, that could not only help antivirus, which has similar privacy functionality, but it could draw people's attention to the fact that the cyberpunk era of crypto is back. In other words, if Tornado Cash is okay, and you can do a private transaction in crypto, because by the way, you can do private transactions in the currency market, in the stock market, in the bond market. I mean, if you trade on Schwab, everybody who works at Schwab and everybody who trades at Schwab doesn't know what your position is. Okay? So if the cyberpunk part of crypto, if the McAfee revolution from 2018 comes through with a Tornado Cash verdict, that could be a surprise upside catalyst in crypto. In other words, imagine the VAR shock and everyone's going down, and everyone's getting upset, and everyone's going, oh my God, and then not guilty. Whoop. Because crypto could just go, oh, wait a minute. We're good. We're all going to make it. In research, you get paid for imagination. If NASDAQ's falling out of bed, you really need to watch a crypto show to know that that could also hurt speculative assets. I mean, if the Magnificent Seven gets torched, it stands to reason the S&P is going to get torched. But you know what? It deserves it because it's just stupid, right? Think of this. Think of the whole world following centralized entities that want to build a computer that will just turn you into, I don't know. I don't know what word there is. I mean, I can think of the word because McAfee used to use it. I don't want to use it. Can turn you into a serf, a mindless drone. That's it. That's what's happening. Let's spend billions of dollars to turn humanity into something that humanity wasn't meant to be. But in the decentralized world of crypto, as Tobie Ward says in her book, which, should be on my desk, that's Hackers versus Hedge Funds, right? Crypto is how we push back. So if we have to tolerate legacy and its stupidity today or tomorrow, fine. Whatever. That's the new battle cry. Whatever. The Magnificent Seven is down. Whatever. Whatever. Right? I'm so sick of these characters. I'm so sick of it. Right? And I'm sick of them dragging crypto down with them. Because I'll tell you what about normies. They see a couple of these days early in a move with Nasdaq down and Bitcoin up. You're going to see the search volume on Google start going towards Bitcoin. Because right now it's at zero. Literally. No one is interested in crypto because they're all over in the pool watching the toaster flip over their heads. So don't give up on crypto. Don't freak out about Nasdaq because that's just value at risk or VAR models beeping. And let's all pray to the God of our understanding that whatever problem that there is in Japan, that they can figure out, along with the Fed, how to kick that can down the road so it's a 1 or 2 day disturbance, not a repeat of what we saw the last couple times that's come unglued. So at the end of this show, you now have an understanding of why NASDAQ could go down. You understand how that could hurt altcoins. You understand how it could help Bitcoin. You understand how Bitcoin could help alts, or Tornado Cash verdict could help alts. Not all alts are created equal. Your turtle meme coin may be extremely volatile if NASDAQ gets blasted. But your turtle meme coin may also give you a fantastic entry point. Okay, you have to think about these things. And here's the good news, and I always say this, you can figure this out. Even if it's ridiculously volatile, so what? Crypto isn't up. Everyone wants 2020 and 2021. You know what? If you want 20 and 2021, you're going to have to deal with sick, crazy volatility. You want that. Michael Saylor's like, volatility is energy, right? And certainly you're going to have volatility, and certainly you're going to have energy as they wake up to the fact in equities that, the economy's weaker than they thought. The Fed is not cutting rates. There's a huge problem in Japan, and equities are stunningly overvalued. That is a problem for the children over in the Magnificent Seven. And hopefully crypto goes with it in the beginning, and then it gives it the proverbial bird when it's over. Let's welcome who's here. I don't know. The Eagle King said we got a lot of people here. We got Bull Runner. We got Alexandra. We finally got a stream for Alexandra that wasn't in the middle of the night where she lives. I know she's happy about that. Ben Riggin is here. Degen Joe, a member. The Schiller, Dwelo. Tyler is here. Smash Toshi. Degen Joe from the coast of Australia. Charlie the Positive Cat from the Antivirus Universe. The Samurai. Donato, Zen Trader. We got Art from the Amsterdam Airport. Zepedas, familiar names from the other morning show. Welcome. Oh no, is here. Future Profits. Yoppie in the house. Turn your lamps green. You know what, bro? That's a good idea. MJ Hits, Future Profit. Triple A, Ben, Brick Dreams. Scott Lawrence, forget about it. Felix, welcome. Please don't liquidate me. Oh, dude, I know. I know, man. They're after all the margin. They're after all the stops. I forgot about that. This could be just a giant stop fishing exercise. Like, hey, let's whack Nasdaq and see how much Bitcoin they'll puke out. That'll be a short show, but it's possible. Wolf Riot Star, a member. By the way, members get really cool emojis. You got the $4 plan and you got the bigger plan for $49, a whopping $49. I mean, there are parts of the world where that is whopping, but hey, we know that's cheaper than other places. Wink. Cathargo, Delana Est, welcome. Right. Did I see the downward revisions to NFP? Yeah. Truth hurts. Jerome Powell's going to lose another 5 pounds, man. The guy's collar, the guy needs a whole new wardrobe. Guy's just losing weight. Now the gig is up. Yeah. A1, Muant, VP, Smashatosi, Daniel from the Jersey Shore, T-Bone makes a live stream. The regulars, the Spartans from Patreon, 5-wave invalidator, A1. Oh my God. Holy moly. Look what Daniel J, JB, dissolve the Fed. Shelly is here. Welcome. Army Piper in the house. You know you're doing something right on YouTube when the people you admire on YouTube turn up on your show. Killer. Love it. Right? Ricky Ricardo, Donato. Oh my God. Look at this. Look at these guys. They are just chatting away. Charlie, the positive cat. Ozempic. Yeah, we need Ozempic for NASDAQ. Army Piper said, I woke up to all my alerts screaming doom. Yeah, folks, the charts don't exactly look good. If you look at NASDAQ, like I said, it's kind of, it's kind of ugly. Yes, we have new people coming on over. Subscription. We are going to be doing a whole bunch of new work in Patreon. We welcome anybody who is watching the morning show. The morning show will be here if people like it here. And we also want to do it from the shorts feed just to do something different. Army Piper, much love to you. Much love to the members. Keep your fingers crossed for Tornado Cash. And let's hope Army Piper's charts don't get any worse. And I know they probably are. Like NASDAQ is ugly and crypto's not that much better. But we got to think positive. We got to let the bad charts in crypto play out and hope NASDAQ doesn't go to zero. Okay, people, that is the first 1 hour monologue in the history of the market update. I did 2 screen shares. Please hit the like button. Listen to me. Subscribe to the channel because we are about to go off. We are going to go off. Videos, member videos, Patreon, turn on alerts. On behalf of Tobie and the Eagle King and Army Piper, we will see you tomorrow. Oh, no, we will see you later on today and tomorrow.